Welcome to Unlock Your Queen, empowering you to step into your power by first building a positive relationship with yourself. One thing that we all go through as humans is adversity, but it's how we get through that adversity that shapes the person we are today. I am super excited to have such an amazing guest joining me. She's an author, public speaker, and educator who has used her life experiences to create a fantastic method for overcoming adversity using the method of resilience. Please welcome Abang.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful platform you've created, Tash, and congratulations.
Thank you.
This Unlock Your Queen is such an amazing platform for women to listen to each other, to learn from each other, and to be able to really experience and express themselves in a safe environment. So well done for that.
Thank you.
Of course, in my journey as a refugee, I went through a very, very difficult journey, which I'll share briefly with you. But what I'm really passionate about and what I'm really so interested in is resilience. I am currently writing a book about the transformative power of resilience using the bucket strategies that I developed throughout my refugee journey. So I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
No, thank you for joining me. And the bucket strategy, I remember speaking to you about it last week, and it was so interesting how you came up with that strategy, especially from the age of 5. Can you tell us a bit about how that came about?
Yeah, so I had these different milestones in my life. From the age of 5, I was forcibly separated from my family because of war. I was born in Sudan and to a relatively middle-class family. My father was a university professor and my mom was a secretary. So my life changed because my father decided to join politics. He felt that, the people of Sudan, especially women and children and minorities, were suffering. So that changed our life because he was then moved to the capital city in Khartoum. And I and my mom and my siblings remained in the south, in a place called Juba. So I became very sick with malaria and cholera. And so my mom was very scared because I had just lost one of my brother to cholera. And so my mom felt that maybe I would die, I would not make it. And she took me to my dad for treatment in Khartoum. And so she said, look, I will come after a week. The plan was that she would leave me with my dad and then she will come back. But that was the last time I would see my mom as a child because
Wow.
My father was then facing assassination and we had to escape. We had to abruptly escape the country and we arrived in a neighboring country called Ethiopia.
And when you escaped, were you on your own? Were you still with family members?
So when I escaped the first time, because of course I escaped 5 times
Wow.
across different countries. And so the first time I escaped, I was with my dad, but for a very short period of time. My dad then went because he had to go and seek support from the local community and the international community. Because my father was not just my father, he was actually the father of a nation,
Yeah.
and he was the leader of, all the people that were relying on him. So he wasn't really prioritizing me as his daughter as such because of that expectation
Yeah.
on him. So he then left me in Ethiopia, and then unfortunately another war broke out. And then I escaped from Ethiopia, and this time just with some people who were with us. And we arrived back into Sudan, a different part of Sudan. And that's where I actually developed that bucket strategy. I arrived in this place called Kopoita. It was the most horrendous place. There was active war, constant bombing. I saw very many people lose their lives. And I decided that either I could give up by just surrendering to the situation, but I just refused. And I said, no, I will not give up. I will try to force my mind and my brain to remember the good memories, to be grateful, to be able to help people who are actually in dire situation, people who are like me, orphans, young children, especially people with disability. And I felt that that was my calling. And so how I developed this, it's very simplistic and very childlike strategy, but I developed it because I remembered my mom and my aunties, they used to carry these buckets of water, and they used to make these peanut butter, and put it in these beautiful colored buckets. They had oil, sesame oil, they had different things that they used for the bucket. And so I decided that I would have the yellow bucket for happy memories, all the beautiful happy memories of my mom, my grandmother's cooking, and, all the beautiful, climbing the mango tree, the sights, the smells. That is what I would remember. And so that was my yellow bucket, and I forced myself to go into that yellow, and all I could see was yellow despite what was going on. And then I had a green bucket, and the green bucket was for learning new skills. And it was for sustenance. And, I had one of my cousins who had polio, and so she couldn't actually walk. She was crawling, and she was just like me. She didn't have a mom or a dad. And we were going through a terrible time during that time in Capoeira with bombings and going through really frightening things that, I talk a little bit about that in my book. But, we taught ourselves to cook. And I used to tell my cousin, I said, don't you see the green bucket? It's like, what is a green bucket? Because she had no idea what I was talking about. But I said to her, this would help you stay alive. You need to force your mind to stay strong, despite what we're going through. And then the other bucket was the red bucket. And the red bucket was for warnings and also for, preparation in times of crisis and not knowing. And how I came up with the red bucket, because of the color red, because of blood. And there was a lot of that at that time. And the other bucket was a black bucket. And the black bucket was for Mother Earth, for strength, for resilience. But also it was quite instrumental and powerful in trying to black out in times of absolute trauma and very extreme circumstances. So now, at my age, I still use those bucket strategies, and I'm really looking at developing it further. And I believe that there's something there that it could help people with compartmentalizing, with looking for gratitude, with looking for hope in times of difficulties.
Absolutely. And I think that being able to compartmentalize when you're trying to go through something in your life is really important. We can't just look at the full picture and just try to work out everything at once. It can get overwhelming. So having those buckets and being able to focus on different areas will be able to help so many people.
Yeah, I truly believe that, Then the next milestone started at 11. So when I was 11, I had to escape again, this place, and we arrived in a country called Kenya, which is another neighboring country. And for the first time in my life, I was able to go to school.
Wow.
I had never gone to school. Just imagine.
Were you excited?
I was absolutely transfixed. I was mesmerized. I could not believe the incredible world that is out there. Apart from my little, minute buckets, there was such a huge world out there. Books, history, literature, geography. And for the first time in my life, I realized that we can really take control of our minds, and we can achieve anything we want and anything that we put our minds into. So I took up absolutely every opportunity that I was given. I joined Scouts. I joined, the drumming, the debating, anything that was at school. I even accidentally became a top athlete by accident.
I love that. And how did that happen by accident?
So one day I was volunteering, of course, as I usually do for the scouts. And we used to give glucose to the athletes, the runners. And the 800-meter runner broke her leg during training. So they were, shocked, and they were wondering what they're going to do. And I said, oh, yeah. I put my hand up and I said, look, I will volunteer. I will run for her. And they're like, you've never ran, and we've never seen you exercise or train.
You were
How
doing
are you
it
going
in
to win
secret.
this,
They don't know.
So then I said, you know what? I truly believe in this strategy that you go into your mind and you tell your mind that you can achieve anything, and I have done it all my life. I am a survivor, and I am surviving currently, and I have moved beyond that and thriving and into the transformative power that we all have as women. Each and every one of us have this power, we have this beauty, we have this resilience that we can lean into.
We do. We just need to find it.
We need to find
and
it.
step into it.
And that's when you say unlock your queen.
Absolutely.
I love that, because this is quite incredible. So I ran the 800 meters and I won.
Wow.
And they couldn't believe it. Then I went to the region, then I won the regional, then I went to the nationals.
Wow.
Then it took off from there.
And for anyone out there that's never run an 800 meters, it's not easy.
It is not easy.
It is not easy. So I used to be an athlete myself, and the 800 meters was something I specialized in. Yeah. It's not easy.
It is very tough.
So mentally, physically, Yeah,
you need the stamina, and you also need the speed.
Yeah.
And you also need the mind, the brain as well. So, so I then quickly realized that you don't wing it when you reach that level. You need to actually really train very hard.
Yep.
So, the next milestone for me was quite a traumatic milestone. So we talked about my 5-year-old self, 11-year-old. When I was 14, my dad was unfortunately captured and killed. So I lost my dad, and it became very, very difficult. It was a very difficult period in my life. I had no mother. I had only briefly seen my dad about maybe 3-4 times when he comes back and forth. And I had no idea what was going to happen to me. So I became homeless. I had no family around me. I was going through abuse, a very difficult time. And in that moment, I realized that I had to utilize my mind once more, and I had to really focus and lean into my inner power. And so I used the strategy once again to get myself out of that victim mentality and feeling sorry for myself. I had to get out and say, look, things are very difficult, and it can work eventually, and I had to find a way. So an auntie briefly took me on and looked after me. I went to a refugee camp, a place called Kakuma in Kenya. It's a refugee camp. And once again, the refugee camp was a very difficult place to be in. And as a woman, reflecting back as a teenager, it was a very difficult time, because there are so many things that young girls and women go through.
Absolutely.
For example, menstruation.
Absolutely.
And how do you go through menstruation
whilst having to deal with so many other factors as well?
Yeah. And not having, sanitary pads, not having privacy, and being in a refugee camp. So that was a very, very difficult period in my life. And on top of that, I had undiagnosed autoimmune condition that I did not know I had that caused severe bleeding. So that became almost like an emergency threat to my life. But still, I did not give up hope, despite all that. At the age of 17, I was given another yet great opportunity, the most remarkable opportunity to come to Australia as a refugee. And just before my 18th birthday, I arrived in Sydney, Australia.
Oh, wow. And what was that feeling like when, you've kind of left the past behind, everything that you've gone through, and you've been given this opportunity? What was it like landing in this country and knowing that you can finally just breathe again and relax a little bit?
Yeah, and thank you so much, Tash. That's such an amazing question. So for me, it was just really embracing the opportunities.
Yeah.
Because I truly believe in every crisis, in every difficulty, there is opportunity. And I believe that we will all go through trauma, we will all go through hardship, we will all go through loss. That is inevitable as human beings. Some maybe more than others, but ultimately we will all go through that journey. And so for me, I'm always aware of embracing and leaning into the opportunities that are there. When I arrived in Australia, I had less than 6 years formal schooling.
Wow.
I had just arrived in a new country. Just imagine, close your eyes and imagine you arrive in a new country as a 17-year-old, no family, less than 6 years education, no friends, no support, and of course carrying the trauma.
Yeah.
Because of course, even though I used the strategies that helped me to cope and stay alive, the strategies needed to be, broken down and needed to be understood a little bit more.
Yeah.
Now looking back and discerning my own strategies, I'm able to look at it from a different lens, and I'm able to, but as a young person going through that, it was quite difficult. I had to trust. I was in a women's shelter in Randwick, and then the most strange thing happened to me. As it usually happens, I was approached by a modeling agency.
Of course you were. Of
they
course.
asked me to come and do modeling. And I was like, what is modeling? Oh, it's like walking down, showing clothes. And, and I just thought that's just the most insane thing that I've ever heard. But I thought, why not? I'll try it out. So came from all that background. Then I was traveling around the world as a model, doing international modeling. And it was quite an experience. I just could not believe it. It was quite a shallow industry sometimes and predatory, but there were some very interesting people that I met in the modeling world, creative people who were just very, interesting and world-traveled, just very...
totally different trajectory. Incredible.
That's
Absolutely
right.
incredible.
And, and then I decided that I wanted to come back and get into education and to go back to uni. But before that, I was really disturbed by the fact that I had no idea where my mom and where my siblings were, or whether they were alive, and whether I would ever be reunited with them. So
was this at the same time as you going back to formal education?
Yeah, so I was deciding. So I did modeling from when I was 18, 19, 20, 21. And then at the age of 22, I started thinking thinking about moving to study.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to empower myself, and I wanted to learn more about, me as a person, and to really get into that idea of imparting knowledge to young people. But it was not easy. It was a very, very difficult task to navigate the Australian education system. And at the same time, I was actually looking for my mom and my siblings. It cost me a lot of money, took a lot of time. Finally, I was able to track them down. And I found them. They were in this refugee camp. So I then was able to sponsor my family and brought my mom and all my siblings to Australia.
Wow.
And it was after 17 years of being separated, from the age of 5 till when I was 22, is when I met my mom for the first time. Wow. She could not remember me. I could not remember her. I had lost a lot of the image of her because it was such a long time. And my siblings, of course, I had no idea what they would look like. And it was quite a teary and emotional moment. But so they arrived in Australia, and they're all moving into their own unique journeys.
And that's very difficult as well.
Yeah.
Bringing family from overseas, especially your whole family, that's, yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Wow.
So that took a long time. So finally, they arrived here. My mom has gone through her own unique journey. She's now 68, but she was able to go back to uni and fulfill her dream of graduating, and it's quite remarkable in a way because she was denied that opportunity, but she was able to do it here in Australia. She doesn't work or do anything with it now, but she
had that opportunity,
yeah.
which is amazing.
Yeah.
Abang, if there was someone out there who is currently going through something similar to what you went through, what advice would you give them to be able to utilise the bucket theory and those 4 buckets?
Yeah, thank you very much. That's a really good question. What I truly believe is that we will all go through a difficult time in our lives. I think it's just having that acceptance that that is going to happen, but how we react to it is instrumental. And it is the most powerful thing that we could do is find a strategy that could help us. And my strategy that really worked for me, that took me out of that struggling, survival, coping into thriving, is using gratitude, using the buckets to be able to lean into and pouring into my bucket, and finding a network around us. And this is for everyone. You don't have to go through a refugee journey. You can go through any journey. Like me as a mother, I've been a single mom in Australia. That's another milestone that I've gone through. And as a single mom, there's a lot of things that women go through, and it's very, very difficult. So you can find strategies that can really, really help you. And I believe in the bucket strategy, in this idea of living in hope, living in gratitude, pouring into your buckets, and finding your people.
And when you say pouring into your buckets, what does that mean?
When I say pouring into your bucket, it's investing in yourself.
Okay.
Investing in yourself by, doing the little things, the little habits that help. For me, it's that, I wake up at 5:30 a.m., I do exercises, I do breathing techniques, I pour into my bucket, I go into this mindset of thinking of the beautiful things and the things that I'm grateful for. Just in that half an hour has really saved my life. And this is something that it's a very small, but then it's practical, but then it's powerful.
And setting your day up for success as well.
That's it.
And getting into that abundance mindset.
That's it. Yeah. And manifesting that abundance mindset, and also, like finding people, like just saying, coming to talk to you today.
Yeah.
This is pouring into my bucket, and, investing in you as a young, smart, beautiful, Black woman doing a podcast, Unlock Your Queen. It is incredible. This has made my day, and this is my yellow bucket.
Thank you.
And well done, and keep going. And to all your viewers, do not give up. Life is challenging, but there is hope. Lean into your resilience, lean into your inner power, into your inner strength and beauty that you infuse already into the world every day.
Beautiful. Thank you, Abang. And I ask everyone one question at the end of the interview. What piece of advice would you give the younger version of yourself?
The advice that I would give the younger version of myself would be to trust the journey, to trust in the journey, because it was very difficult. And at times I would think, wow, this is so difficult. I cannot keep going. There were moments when I nearly gave up. There were some moments that I contemplated stopping and not going anymore, but I had to just keep pushing myself.
Yeah.
And if I had to advise myself, I would say, trust the journey. It's all part of the success and the transformation.
And thank you for being so honest and open and vulnerable with sharing your story as well.
Of course.
Thank you.
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. And I'm sure there's people out there that are going to want to get in touch. Where can they reach you?
So I have a website that you have kindly, this is the most amazing website, builder that you've created for me. They can reach out on my website. And also I'm with celebrity speakers. If anyone would like to book me to speak, they can book me through celebrity speakers.
Thank you.
And keep an eye out for my book.
Yes, which will be launching very soon.
Yeah.
So we'll share all of those details once the podcast launches as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abang.
Thank you. Thanks, Tash.